Morning, everybody. It's the 6th of May. We are Signal Centre Talking Ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined by Steve O'Hare. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, mate. All right.
Yeah, not bad, thank you. All important matches this evening.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Arsenal trailing.
Chances?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
It depends which Arsenal turns up. Yeah, absolutely.
One goal. I mean, English teams are sort of dominating Europe, aren't they?
Yeah.
Brexit has worked.
Well, we're at war with France now, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on to that shortly.
Yeah, they're paddling on our pond, aren't they?
They are, yes. Right, so news-wise, India posted a record number of daily coronavirus cases yesterday, and it remains the epicenter of the crisis. It's struggling to track new variants, which could also worsen the situation. There was some encouragement, however, from data showing Moderna's shot bolsters antibodies against other virus strains, which is good. In the UK, we are set to lift the ban on international leisure travel to a handful of countries on Friday. So obviously some countries turn the corner while some are still very much struggling, but hopefully the worst is behind them. In terms of what else is going on in the UK, there's plenty going on today. We've got the Bank of England latest decision coming up with regards to interest rates. While there is expected to be no change, there is expected to be some chatter around about tightening policy in the coming months. Plus, we also have local elections taking place in the UK today, marking a major test for Prime Minister Boris Johnson and also for Labour leader Keir Starmer. Also, whether or not there's going to be any further action with regards to Scottish independence. And as we just touched upon there, the UK has sent 2 Navy patrol ships to Jersey amid a blockade threat from French fishermen. The French guys are looking to fish our waters, which obviously was always going to be a moot point off the back of Brexit. So starting to see some evidence of that. In terms of what's going on in the wider world, the G7 diplomats singled out China over a variety of subjects in a final statement seen by Bloomberg yesterday, including alleged human rights abuses, actions on Taiwan, and incursions in cyberspace. So further threats to sanctions in China. In terms of what's going on in the US, the central bank are still facing worries about inflation, although they continue to downplay them. But it is definitely causing some jitters in certain areas of the market. So plenty going on today. In terms of numbers, we've got some bellwether companies in Europe reporting. We've had Volkswagen and also brewing giant Anheuser-Busch. In the US, we've got Uber Technologies and also Peloton, who are reporting today.
Peloton, did you see they're recalling all their treadmills and Treadmill Plus?
Right, yeah. So we'll wait and see what impact that has on the numbers later on today. I wouldn't have thought any, but obviously they'll be guiding on what could happen down the road. So yeah, lots going on. So I guess we can dive into the charts now. Steve, shall I go through FX?
Yeah, you crack on.
Okay, so starting off with the dollar index, not a lot happening yesterday on the dollar index side of things. So we've broken out of this channel, which we was hoping would see a continuation higher. We stalled yesterday, as you can see that candle there. A nice doji candle has formed, so a real bit of indecision. Although we did make a minor high above the previous highs that we'd seen in previous sessions, there wasn't any follow through in either direction. So bit of weakness today. If we can overcome the high that we posted yesterday at 91.43, then that could open up further upside on the dollar index. But for now, it looks fairly flat. If we look at euro dollar on the flip side of this, again, a bit of a doji candle formed yesterday, although we did make new lows. Taking some of that back today, already up 0.17%. But looking at the sort of bigger picture here, wondering whether or not a top pattern is in fact taking shape. So this is a daily chart, potential head and shoulders top, only potential at this stage because it's a very early and speculative call on that, but looking for a decline towards these support levels down here at 1.1700. So for now, I think the bias for me is selling rallies on euro dollar. If we look at some of the other currencies, or most popular ones, cable isn't doing a lot. It's range bound within these levels here. So 1400, it's 140.00 to 136.70. Just nothing happening. So not the most interesting market. I quite like the looks of Euro New Zealand dollar yesterday, because clearly that's been trending lower, as you can see. This is the daily chart, and it broke out of a bit of a range yesterday with a big old impulsive candle to the downside. We are overshooting the retest at the moment. Just wondering how much that's got on the upside before the sellers do step in again, and we see a continuation lower. But just measuring that range and projecting it lower, we've got a target at 163.43. So that's quite an interesting play today for me on the technical side. Euro sterling, still waiting for this to potentially form an inverse head and shoulders. It needs to get above this 87.19 level. It was rejected, and we saw 3 days of downside price action. We are stalling a bit today. If this can continue higher, then we may form some sort of bullish engulfing candle, which would be a reasonably positive sign for a push back up to a retest of this neckline. So continuing to watch on that one for now. If we look at some of the other dollar pairs, dollar CAD showing no signs of slowing. That's making new lows and closed at new lows yesterday. Dollar Swiss, not much happening there. Was hoping for a continuation higher following the break of this channel, but there's been no follow through so far. And dollar yen, I think if you are going to play dollar or bullish of dollar, then this is still the place to go. By far the best of the bunch for me at the moment on looking for dollar strength. That's pretty much it from me, I think, Steve. It's not been that exciting in the FX world. Maybe you can offer us something a bit more exciting on indices and commodities.
I'll do my best. Yeah, so looking at commodities to start off with, obviously we had oil inventories out yesterday in the US. We had a sort of like a bit of a sell-off. Let's show you the hourly chart. I wanted to save this to last because it's obviously formed a really nice head and shoulders formation. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. It's quite a clean one. I do like the fact that the neckline is pretty horizontal. Obviously, in the last hour, we formed a bit of a bullish engulfing candle, which has taken us up to close to the left shoulder. So that's looking at slightly positive on this hour, but will it be sustained? From a daily perspective, looking at oil, it's a dark cloud, bearish dark cloud cover here. So that's negative. And as we can see, this right shoulder forming is getting us up to the levels that we saw the day before. So I think that there is potential for a reversal here, because if we go back to obviously 14th of March, we can see that we've stalled around about the previous swing high. Yeah, so that's that for me. Although currently it is positive, it's looking quite strong. There is good risk reward reasons to sell it at this level, and I'll probably come back to that on the gun to head challenge. From a gold perspective, yesterday I was looking at a potential bearish flag. It got the break. I thought I'd nailed it and reversed very sharply. So that didn't really work out. And obviously, with one eye on the dollar index, gold will be driven by how well or how badly the dollar does, especially when we're up at these quite significant psychological levels around just under the $1,800 level. Now we've tested this on four in total if you count the very first one on 21st of April. This is a 4-hour chart. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4. Potentially looks to have failed on a 5th attempt already. 1796 we've got up to, and reversing from there pretty sharply. On the hourly chart, let's have a little look of here, and I always like to sort of bring the Ichimoku cloud into it, but on the hourly chart we're above it, so that's pretty cool. Also the ATR sits above it as well. So from a short-term perspective, gold sitting a little bit like oil, sitting close to the sort of like the recent highs, but there's bearish engulfing candle on the hourly chart, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, is slightly negative. So are we going to stall in these commodities? Obviously, if we look at the longer term charts, we're still very bullish of gold, looking for it to move to mid 2000, well, around about $2,500 in the coming months and next year. So that covers commodities. Little bit of a stall is my summary on that. If we look at how indices are doing, they're performing better. FTSE is looking good, dollar strength helping, or dollar strengthening over the last few days helping, but we are trading around about the 78.6 fib retracement level. We're struggling to get above here at the moment. It's formed resistance and held quite nicely. Looks like a bit of an ending wedge formation ish, but I'm not sort of like looking for any real reason to sell it at the moment. It's just because it's near its highs or near resistance doesn't mean it's going to reverse from here. There is still potential on the upside with these indices forming what I believe is a huge bubble. On the weekly chart on the DAX, this is an expanding wedge formation. Looks pretty scary. They're always a very, very difficult formation to trade. Are we forming, is this part of a diamond formation, which we picked up one the other day? You get the expanding wedge, then you get the sort of like triangle, symmetrical triangle formation forming. This would need a sell-off to the downside, but that's a long way off, and potentially a disastrous sell-off if it does happen. So we're not going to think about that too much, as it's a long-term play. Dow Jones again, all-time highs 34,324 and a half. No, not quite all-time highs. It flirted with them. Well, it hit it at 7 o'clock, and overnight we've sort of like had another spike up and didn't quite take it out. So it is all-time highs in the Dow, but rejected this move over the last hour. That's a shooting star candle, so a little bit negative there. We could easily see a short-term double top here. That would require a break of this 34,180, and then we'd get a nice measured move target of somewhere down towards the bottom end of the resistance of the cloud, 34,000. So look out for that on the Dow Jones. Nasdaq remains under pressure. We talked about this double top formation already played out. The target was 13,360, just got below 13,400, and we've sort of seemed to have stalled here. So along with the S&Ps, which again is a little bit trading a little bit more like the Dow, looking at the all-time highs more than the this tech stock correction. Aussie 200 still remains pretty strong. Obviously, the commodities still holding near the highs, so that helps the Aussie 200. Nikkei recovered over the last couple of days and has tested and taken out the previous swing high at 26th of April. So that's looking pretty positive. China 50 was interesting, had a really sort of decent spike. I'll show you the sort of like trading range on it overnight. Really decent spike higher, but rejected straight away. So this remains under pressure. So for me, the China 50 is the one that's really sort of like potentially dampening the indice euphoria. Hang Seng also slightly under pressure along with the China 50, and little bit of indecision forming on a daily basis today. We're looking at a head and shoulders formation potentially, but again, we need to sort of see a break of 27,500 before we get excited about that. A quick look at the cryptos. We'll look at, do we want to look at Dogecoin? I don't know if we do we? Where is Doge? I'm not sure which Dogecoin is. I thought it was this one, but I'm not sure if it is.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's
Is it
against
that one?
BTC though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's against BTC. Yeah, sorry. No,
DOGE USD.
let me add it then. Lovely. Yeah, I mean, it is sort of like looking pretty,
Jesus.
pretty
Got a log
exponential.
scale chart on there. Fucking hell, look at that.
I know, mental, isn't it? Sort of trading around the highs. Um,
Bigger
yeah,
than
but
Ripple now, isn't it?
oh yeah, I heard that, and it's sort of what else is it bigger than? It's bigger than Credit Suisse, one of the big banks or
Yeah, I
something.
think I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah,
But it
Bitcoin
doesn't do
obviously.
anything, is that right?
I'm pretty sure it's just a made-up thing. Well, I suppose a lot of this is probably a made-up thing. But,
Careful.
yeah, no, it was sort of like based on a meme. I don't know if there's any real basis behind it, like any sort of business structure or purpose. So I don't know if there isn't. It is like the emperor and his invisible clothes.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bitcoin for me, obviously a very positive day yesterday. Covered the losses from the previous day, and really liking the 4-hour chart to sort of like get a bit of an idea of where this potentially could go. We found this resistance from previous. This is from this swing high back on the 19th of April, but obviously we've got a couple of decent ones here. This on a shorter term chart probably looks like a little bit of a bullish flag, to be honest. So I'm not just I'm not just one way on Bitcoin trying to sort of like put it down. I've learnt that that's not the thing to do when you get excited or not excited about certain products. Yeah, this potentially bullish flag as a measure move to target all the way up to 61,300. So clear break of 59,000, that opens that up, and that'll be a decent sort of like opportunity then. If we look at it from a inverse head and shoulders perspective, not really that clear. So the jury's still out on that, but you know, you can't keep it down by the looks of things. Stronger dollar won't really help it, weaker dollar would. So let's just wait and see how that plays out. Yeah, other ones to watch. I know Ian's maybe still involved in theta. That sort of seems to be
NFTs.
holding. They're the what, the
Non-fungible transactions, NFTs, the
is
art
that what
and bits
theta's
and
based on?
pieces.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah, something that we all have to sort of get our heads around and understand how you can sort of like put a huge value on a digital image which can be copied perfectly every time. But you know, I think maybe we're running out of things to sort of like create value out of. Maybe
Yeah,
Digibyte
maybe.
is my one. This is my one, Joe. This is the one I bought 2018.
Wow. Doing right
That's the
then.
only one I've got, actually. I haven't touched any others, so it doesn't go back. Chart doesn't go back any further than that. But I bought it down at around about this level here,
Happy days.
0.4. Yeah, only a couple £100, nothing. So because
Well,
I did want to risk.
if you bought a couple of £100 in Dogecoin at the same time, I think you'd be worth quite a few quid extra now.
Yeah, probably would. Yeah, yeah. I think it was one of my sort of like unemployment benefit payments. No, that's a joke.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's me
Yeah,
done.
cool. Gun to the head from yesterday then. So this is state of play yesterday. 2 trades, 2 stop outs, unfortunately. Really fancied that DAX yesterday. It was looking, quite nice, ticking all the boxes, but absolutely no follow through to the downside. In fact, getting it all back on the upside instead. And Steve was stopped out on gold,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
same sort of thing happened to me. I thought I was getting excited for a little while when I saw it coming off, and then smack, getting all overconfident.
Often the way, isn't it? So let's just have a quick look at that DAX yesterday. Yeah, so it was into this sort of resistance area. Nice 61.8% in there as well. It was ticking all the right boxes on the daily chart. It looked fantastic because you had this big sell-off, and then we were looking for sort of a 50% retracement of that into these resistance levels, and then wallops. Just what you doing shorting me, Joe? You need to go long. buy any dip. Anyway, so what am I doing today? I am going to take a look at Euro New Zealand dollar. I talked about it in my FX roundup. This is the reason why. So overall, the trend is clearly lower. So there's no denying that. This is the daily chart. And in recent days, what we formed is a bit of a range. Upper end of the range is coming in at 1.6989. Lower end coming in at 1 point and all the sixes. We saw a decent breakdown yesterday. We're seeing a retest today. Ideally, I'd like to sell it up there if I get the chance. I mean, obviously, a perfect retest would be at this 1.6666 level, but not against a little bit of an overshoot occasionally, and then could have a nice stop loss above the high of that impulsive candle. But going to drill down into the intraday charts for a refined entry point. So this is the range. Again, that I've just been speaking about. This is where I was looking to get short, but I've got to go now. So price is 1.6683. Getting short. Going to have a 67 tick stop at 167.50. The measured move of the range. So when we talk about measured moves, we're talking about higher the range to the lower the range, projected lower. Comes in at 163.56. So that's what I'm going to go for, which is 4.86R today, if that plays out. Obviously, going to need a fair amount of volatility for that to happen, but you never know. That's my trade of the day.
Nice one, mate. I'm going to look at oil. As I said, obviously we've had a very bullish candle in the last hour, and we've only got 15 minutes into this session. So let's look at the 15-minute chart. Yeah, I mean, look at the 15-minute chart. We've seen this hour that's positive, hanging man candle, sign of indecision. Oh, Steve, have you nailed it? A 65.82 I'm going to sell, and I can actually have a pretty tight stop. 66.
Oh.
I'm sort of like moving it up every time it pips up like that. I was actually thinking of 66.02, so I could be stopped by the end of the program. It's only a 20 tick stop. But, you know, with a 100 tick target, which will be back down at this potential neckline, actually, I'll bring it inside that. Bring it 4-to-1 risk reward. So selling it at 65.82. If you haven't done that yet, you may be sort of like looking quite pleased with yourself. Stop at 66.02, target 65.02. I want to get off this screen quite quickly, Joe, before it stops me out live on air.
Go. Okay, so what's going to keep moving these markets today? So we've got Eurozone retail sales at 10. Then at 12 o'clock, we've got the Bank of England talking about rate decisions and the QE purchase program. We've then got the ECB President Lagarde speaks at 12:15. And then we've got a couple of FOMC speakers. So plenty to keep us interested today, as well as a couple of companies' earnings as well from the US later on. So good luck if you're trading. Hopefully that was useful, and we will be back tomorrow morning.
Cheers.
Cheers, and bye.